Now, SVP and Russillo on ESPN Radio.
And ESPNRadio.com.
Hey, it's SVP and Russillo. Appreciate you checking out the podcast. I'm terrible at lists. We are listing the top 5 at each position in the NBA. We start with point guards. I have one really dumb one on there, but what do you want from me? Tim Legler with his 5. My one big thing on why it was perfect symmetry for Pop to get his 1,000th in the manner in which he did. We put the Knicks and Lakers seasons to bed because that's where they are. Robert Griffin III can't help himself. An outsider Mike becomes an insider. Podcast starts now.
SVP and Russillo.
One of my least favorite things that happens in sports is when people suggest that it just becomes this default, everything's rigged. A call happens in the SEC championship game. Mike's live. That's the commissioner of the league. Pulling strings. The NBA, fixed. It's rigged. Everything's rigged. That makes a lot of sense because if the NBA was rigging things, they definitely would want Memphis to be a good team. They'd want Toronto to be great, and they'd want the Lakers and the Knicks to stink. That's what they'd want. They'd want New York and Los Angeles. I know the Clippers are in there, but you'd want two huge cities to have 2 lousy teams. And this weekend, All-Star Weekend in New York, it's weird. We're close enough to the city that you could get there if it doesn't snow 4 more feet between now and the weekend. But the idea that there'd be an all-star game in the city, man, that there'd be buzz, there'd be excitement, there'd be a whole lot of palpable energy about it. And there's none. I'm not suggesting we live close, but there just isn't a buzz about the all-star game being in New York City because this Knicks season is a fiasco beyond any comprehension. They have fewer wins than anybody. Carmelo hurts his knee last night. May have to shut it down. In your worst nightmare, Knick fans, when you were ready to throw a parade because Phil was coming to town, you couldn't have envisioned this.
No one would think it would be this bad. And I don't know that anybody thought they were going to be really good, but you think with the East, I mean, can you get into the playoffs? They move Tyson Chandler. They try to change things around. Amari looks better in the preseason, but he's clearly a guy that can't really go more than 20 minutes a night. Melo struggled all season with his health. Bargnani comes back. That's a disaster. I think he had 3 fouls in 4 minutes the other night, just coming right into the game. So, yeah, and it's a complete mess. But I don't know. And Phil Jackson could talk about, hey, I've fallen on my face. But were there any moves? Did there exist any moves that could make them really competitive in the East this year? No. I mean, we know that the Melo part was, let's keep the star. We'll figure out the rest of the pieces later. And now they're still in a very early part of trying to fix this. But for this season, the Knicks, the Lakers, we're putting it to bed today because it's just over.
What was the experiment, Phil? Well, what was it? What was the goal? If you're Melo, Chad Millman from ESPN the magazine, who we like a lot, the editor-in-chief, they had that
article.
What was it? I was going to say it was a cover story about Melo. And look, I know I get why he stayed. There's money. You have a short window. You want to make the most that you can make, but you tied yourself to a franchise that it's an idea. I don't even know if it's an idea. Who thinks it's any good? And it blows my mind that this city that is as identified with basketball as any big city that there is, it is a hoop-crazed city. The Garden, when you go there, and there it sits right in the middle of Manhattan, most famous arena, yada, yada. They've won 10 games. 10. Phil Jackson's linked to your franchise now. He's pushing the buttons, and you're a disaster. And I don't even know. I can't even find the words to describe and express how awful this is. And is there any reason to believe that in any window of time, 2 years, 3 years, that they're going to be something better than this?
Well, I don't know. I'd be completely guessing. And at this point, they don't know. They don't know. I mean, here's the plan. We're going to have a ton of money after this season. There's really only a couple guys left that are on the roster. Melo's the main cog. Amari's off. Bargnani's off. We knew that they've made mistakes before with the way they've constructed this roster. They moved Shumpert. They moved J.R. Smith so that they can take back expiring contracts. But the biggest problem for a team like the Knicks, and the same thing for the Lakers, is that for years you'd always think, okay, the Lakers would be in it because they're a destination. The Knicks will be in it because they're a destination. The best markets, NBA is all about markets. Today, I don't know that it matters anymore.
I don't think it does.
And every team is going to have more cap space. Every team's been smarter about how they've managed their current contracts. So you're going to have more teams with available cap space. And as much as it's about destination, it may be more about who else is there. So nobody wants to play with Kobe. I mean, this is all old stuff here. We don't even know if Kobe's going to be around. And Melo on the books for the next 4 years, I get why he signed the deal, and I would too.
So do I.
Hey, give me the money, give me the extra year. I'm in my 30s, done. But it's not like when LeBron was being pursued, the rest of the league was fearful. The Knicks are going to get him. LeBron, Nike.
New York.
Yeah, they're just going to, MSG, following Jordan, like do the thing Jordan didn't do. And that felt real.
I agree with that.
And then it's Miami. And then you go, okay, but it's Wade. He's already there. Bosh joins the mix, so they have better players. And the Knicks ended up with Amari Stoudemire, okay? This time around, free agency for this year or next season after that, the advantages that we thought the Knicks or a team like the Lakers would have just 4 or 5 years ago don't feel even real anymore.
It's SVP and Russillo. Still time to wower for Valentine's. 1-800-Flowers.com. Special offers. Go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN. In the same way that there used to be this presumption, this sense that the only way that you could get ahead in life and truly succeed was that you had to go to college. You needed to go to college and get a good education so that you could go make something of yourself. Well, now if you're 17 and you're super smart, you come up with an app and you sell it for $30 million to somebody, why go to Stanford? Don't need to. I don't need to go to Stanford to become a zillionaire if I've got a good idea. You don't need to go to New York to be a brand. You don't have to go anywhere to be a brand. Kevin Durant's as big a brand as there is. He sells everything, and he does it from Oklahoma City. You don't have to go somewhere to be a big deal.
No, you just don't have to anymore.
Now, I'll grant you that there are guys like, as we're going to do at the top of the hour, next hour, bane of my existence, a list, top 5 point guards. How do you think I did with that, besides not well? Changed it 3 times between 12:30 and 1 o'clock.
You say for Steve gets so in your head.
He did. Look, I'll admit to this.
I just watched the whole thing. I was yelling at Steve to get out of the room.
He helped me, but then he hurt me.
No, he only hurt you.
Probably. But if Mike Conley Jr. played somewhere else, would he be better known? Perhaps. But that's a bright guy who doesn't seem to covet a spotlight. There are people that can remain more of a off the radar type talent in a smaller city than if they played in New York. But I mean, you don't have to go there to be a big deal. And so, I don't know. I just can't believe they're this bad. Then we have the Lakers. And these comments from Magic is today. You want me to tee these up?
Yeah, it was on First Take, Sports Center, Mike and Mike. So Magic on campus today.
Boom.
Oh, you know Kobe wasn't going to turn that $48 million down. And so, but Jim didn't give him a reason to. There was no plan in place to say, okay, Kobe, if you take less, I can sign so-and-so. There was no plan. And so Kobe said, well, okay, let me take this contract because we're not going to be good. And this is still about Jim Buss. This is still about Jim Buss.
It is always about Jim Buss. I mean, he is clearly sabotaging the team if you listen to everybody else in Lakerland. Now, Jeannie showed up here on campus. I cannot express this enough. I was not impressed. And yet Jeannie was always the one that everybody talked about being the brains of the operation and that Jim was the bad guy who kept screwing it up. I'm not telling you Jim Buss is good, okay? I'm not doing that. But somehow everything is Jim Buss's fault. And as we talk about the Knicks and Lakers, Scott, no one's presenting solutions. It's real easy to say never should have signed Melo, never should have brought in Phil. Okay, well, what else did you want him to do? What else did you want them to do? I mean, that's the limitation that you have with some of these teams. But when you look at the Lakers and you talk about Kobe's $50 million extension that the Lakers just gave him because he's Laker family, and fine, go ahead and do that. But to suggest that Kobe would have taken less had he known what the plan would be this offseason, he signed that in 2013. No one knew what the possible plans could be for the summer of 2015 when he signs that extension. There was no plan presented because everyone would have been making it up at that time. So I'm not even blaming Kobe for taking the money. I blame the Lakers more for even offering it to him. I understand why they did it, but I can't believe how much everyone kills the one guy in Lakerland as if there was another path to be taken that would have fixed all of their problems.
Well, I can understand why Magic blames him, Buss, now exclusively. That's because he can't blame D'Antoni anymore.
Right.
I thought it was his fault. I thought he was the problem with the Lakers. Now you don't have him to kick around anymore, and it's Buss.
They're both bad rosters. We both knew that. And in a way, the Lakers tried to kind of pretend they were still competing based on what they were saying in some of their signings. That wasn't the case. Their lottery pick gets hurt. The Knicks thought they could in the East. It's far worse, I think, than anybody could have imagined for both, especially with Kobe being out. But there's a lot of complaints about the two teams, and as much as I cover, I don't know that I would say, okay, well, here's where you took the wrong turn recently. You could have done this, this, and this, and you'd be in a much better position. Because I think it's fair to at least bring that up, because you can just sit there and yell about it, but I don't know what was going to fix these teams.
But see, that's way worse, because if your car breaks down, you say, oh, you know what it is? Your carburetor's shot. We're going to fix that. Now you're just looking at it going, I don't know, man, your car's dead. That's what you sound like we're talking about, just dead cars.
We traded for Jeremy Lin. You know?
Stanford Steve hit the nail on the head. The most excitement the Knicks have had in the last 10 years is a 2-week stretch of Jeremy Lin. That was it. It was this mirage.
Insanity.
Woo!
That Pacers series was good.
They won one against an aging Celtics roster that was all beat up. That's all they've got. It's incredible to me.
Celtics team had a lot of heart, Scott.
Where's Rappaport, man? That guy actually sat here before the season started and had that smile on his face and said they're going to be good.
He'll be in the celebrity game.
Go for yours, kid.
He's playing again?
Yep.
He's a fixture, bro.
What is he, Chris Gatling of that thing? How is it that I got love 2 years ago and then I can't even play?
I know what happened.
What happened?
Pretty simple, dude. Vegas lost money. Over under 6.5. Who went over? That guy?
They sat in a room.
Too many picks.
Yeah, they're like, the guy that set a ton of screens Kevin Hart didn't use? Yeah, we're all set with that guy. The guy that chucked Josh Hutcherson at a whistle?
The guy that got glory late with a putback with time diminishing?
The guy that sat next to James Harden said, you got to put me back in?
So far you played 2 All-Star games. You told Harden you needed to get back in, and you told Montana, I need some touches, bro. That's your legacy.
Right, and there is zero exaggeration to either one of those. Like, those things. I can't wait to see our friend Joe Montana again soon.
2 All-Star games, 2 coaches he hassled to get back in. And it worked both times, though. It worked both times.
SVP and Russillo.
Tim Legler is there now. And Tim, this is something that we've batted around a bit in the past, trying to figure out how you narrow down the list of the top 5 point guards. And I'll give you time to mull it over as we're asking you other questions here. Maybe you can share your 5 with us before we let you go. I want to start with Mad Kevin Durant. You and I talked about this last night on SportsCenter. I think as time goes by, he cares less and less about perception and just is becoming this fully evolved, true bad agent out there on the floor. I don't think he cares what people think anymore, and I think that's better for him. Do you agree with that?
I completely agree with it. I don't think he'll ever get to the point where he disregards it as much as, say, a Kobe Bryant, but at least he's trending in that direction a little bit more often. I think it is better for him when he carries himself that way. I think one of the things that's gotten them in trouble at times in the past, and it still surfaces, was who is, when he's on the court, how can he not be alpha all the time? Because you're playing alongside a guy, Russell Westbrook, who thinks he's the best player on the court every time he steps on it, and sometimes I think that has hurt this team overall. So I think there's more often than not now Durant carries himself that way when he's playing. I think he's not more as apt to defer and watch the way he would for 4 and 5 minute stretches. Now, if he does that again this year in the playoffs, if they get in, they'll get bounced again. But I think he seems less inclined to want to do that and more apt to go get the basketball and make sure that it's got to come my way and come through me.
Legs, when I look at Memphis, they feel almost like the smartest team that's playing today, but have you seen enough of a jump from them offensively to think they can come out of the West, as compared to other concerns we've had about them in previous years?
Yeah, I haven't come out flat out and said they're going to win a title this year. They're going to win the Western Conference. But I'm starting to inch that way to saying, you know what, this is the best team, not Golden State. I'm very close to jumping full board, giving it a little bit more time. But what I've seen out of them is they're smart. They're a great defensive team. And now that they've added Jeff Green, they have the dimension to beat you in different ways. It's not just all about the front line and can you deal with that up front and really, really smart, underrated point guard in Mike Conley. It's more than that now. You have a guy that can get you 15 to 25 on any given night at the 3 position. And then, oh, by the way, if you're playing Golden State with Draymond Green at the 4, if you're playing Dallas with Dirk at the 4, if you're playing Houston and Terrence Jones is in that spot, and you want to match up with them defensively, now you have another option because you can play a smaller lineup with Green at the 4 because he's legit 6'9", and you can win games different ways. This is a team that, to me, when you watch them now on a nightly basis, has more and more the feel you know what, maybe this is the year. They've been very close for a long time, and it seemed like the lack of offensive punch that they needed in the playoffs ultimately doomed them. They might have it this year, and so it's going to be interesting to watch over the next few weeks if I actually just come out definitively and say Memphis is winning it all this year, or being closer to that.
Tim Legler is our guest last night on SportsCenter. Obviously, we talked a lot about Greg Popovich getting to win number 1,000. What singular quality that he possesses do you think has served him best over his time?
Without question, it's the ability to get really talented players to buy into being selfless. And I know that that's not all on a coach or an organization. You know, some of it has to be from within. You have to have an unselfish player like Tim Duncan come in, and a Manu Ginobili willing to come off the bench his whole career. You know, Tony Parker even. You have to have the individual characters of the player, but then you also have to make sure that they understand the betterment of the group is if you play a certain way. And so that means we're going to get the ball hopping from one side of the floor to the other. Everyone's going to touch it. Everyone's going to feel important. I can bring in any cast of all players I want from year to year, and I'm going to incorporate them and value them for their strengths and not worry as much about what they can't do. I will focus on what they can, use them for that, and then protect them from their weaknesses. That's what a great coach does, and that's what Pop does with the role players he brings in. But it starts with the selflessness of his best players, and that to me is a mark of a great coach, the communication and willingness of guys to buy into what you're saying, because ultimately they believe in you and they believe that this is going to lead to wins. And if he gets 50 this year, that's 16 straight years with 50 wins, and he's one rebound away from being 6-0 in the NBA Finals. You know, to me, he's the best of all time. There's an undisputed Mount Rushmore in this league with Auerbach and Riley and Jackson and Popovich, but you can make a really strong argument that Pop's the best of them all.
Legs, before we finish up here, we're going to do this at the top of next hour. Scott and I individually have done our best point guards in the league. So we're talking guys right now, the way they've played this season. Who would your top 5 be?
Man, it's tough this year. But I'm going to go – I probably would go – for me personally, I'm going to go Curry 1. I'm going to take Westbrook 2. I'm going to take Lillard 3. I'm probably going to put John Wall at number 4. And then it becomes real dicey. You've got Mike Conley out there. You got Kyle Lowry. You got Tony Parker. You haven't
said Chris
Kyrie
Paul
Irving,
yet.
Derrick Rose. All of those guys, to me, you can make an argument who you want to put in that 5th spot. But I'm pretty confident in the top 4.
Okay, but you left Chris Paul out.
Did leave Chris Paul out. I know I probably left somebody. All right, I'll tell you this. I would not put Chris Paul in the top 3. I probably would put him ahead of John Wall. So we slide John Wall down to 5. I knew I'd leave somebody out. But I would take those other 3 guys ahead of Chris Paul.
Okay. All right. That's tough to do, kind of just for people listening, like off the top of your head. I thought we had set him up on that. So you nailed it. You didn't say Rubio, so we're good.
No, I didn't say – I definitely did not say Rubio.
Correa?
Didn't say Michael Carter. Michael Carter Williams was left out of the conversation.
No, but it's hard. Listen, I still have 20 minutes to take what you've said and alter my picks here. It's brutal. I mean, there's just so many good point guards at this position, and those are your 5. Tim, we appreciate it, and thanks for the time as always.
All right, guys. Got it.
It's time for Scott Van Pelt's One Big Thing. One Big Thing. On ESPN Radio and ESPNRadio.com.
One big thing, when you win 1,000 games, undoubtedly you do have some great players. On that, I will agree with Greg Popovich. In typical Pop fashion, he was not about to throw a parade for himself on a February night after his team's 52nd game, which just so happened to be his 1,000th win. Here's Pop going crazy.
I don't do too much celebrating, you know. So, you know, I've been here a long time and I've had good players. You know, that's the formula. You know, getting the players is difficult, but I've been fortunate to have good ones, and the time, you know, that's the most important element. You got to be around for a while, I guess. So it's more a tribute to them, obviously, than to any coaches.
I found something perfect in the symmetry of the whole evening. It was 2 teams. Everyone was dreading being in the finals in recent years because neither the Indiana Pacers nor the San Antonio Spurs are the sexiest teams, nor are they the most glamorous cities. But there they were last night in the dead of winter in an arena that is meant to feel like an old gym, in a state that values basketball in a way that really is the identity of Indiana, a state where Popovich is from. Good ball movement led to an Italian player using a ball fake to turn a good look into a better look, and he hit the shot with a couple seconds left, and it wins him the game. Could anything be more Spurs and Popovich than that? Not a star player, not the most glamorous opponent, but the perfect venue for the quintessential illustration of them and him. If you asked Pop what a vine was, I bet he would tell you it's what Tarzan swings on in the jungle. But if you made one at the end of the game, it would show you the essence of what they've been under him. Not star-driven, but unselfish, smart, capable. More often than anyone else this long, they've been winners. We ran a great piece on SportsCenter last night from NBA TV with the three players most responsible for this run, obviously talking Duncan, Parker, and Ginobili. And you appreciate how remarkable the run is and how Pop is right that those guys play such a role in the success that he ultimately gets credited with. They're unusual in their makeup, and it is so evident when they talk about each other how much they matter to each other as human beings. It's also evident as you read Sam Amick. I don't know if I say that last name right. He's a good writer. Amick. My apologies, Sam.
I hope.
As you read Sam's USA Today piece on Pop, he is aware that this nearly 20-year run is coming to an end. He thinks often about Duncan retiring, talks openly about his own future, and says, quote, "I'm not a lifer." Popovich is a bright guy. Many other things interest him. He just happens to be really good at this job, and it is worth pointing out that as Pop and Duncan keep reminding each other to be reflective and appreciative, that Spurs fans would be wise to do the same. A final thought. It is amazing to look back at the circumstances that surrounded him taking over in San Antonio in 1996. Remember, he was VP of basketball ops, fired Bob Hill, took over. The Spurs stunk. It was not popular. Oddly enough, a column I found was from the Hartford Courant, and a quote from that columnist said, and I quote, "Popovich's ego may overflow, but don't look for him to coach beyond this season. His head coaching experience is 8 years at Pomona-Pitzer College in Claremont, California. Of course, Pomona-Pitzer never had David Robinson at center," close quote. Or he's still coaching and just won his 1,000th game.
This run, I mean, we're talking 96. Going back to 96, the other guys that are close, Belichick at 2000, Sosha 2000, Babcock 06, I think, for the Red Wings. But I just can't imagine. I can't imagine what it's going to be like when Duncan's gone, because clearly Pop is one of those warrior types, the guy that loves competition. So when he keeps saying, "I'm just going to shut it down when Duncan's done," I'll believe it when I see it. It's so easy to talk about how it's going to end until you actually have to face the end.
There aren't many that are wired in that Barry Sanders way where you just walk away and say peace, and that's truly the end of it. I could see it for Pop just because this run's been as good as anything that you could have ever dreamt of. All right, Valentine's Day is around the corner. We've been telling you, get those flowers ordered, 1-800-Flowers.com. Do it today. There's this stat. I don't have it in front of me, but Stanford Steve, you're the aficionado of love. What do you got for us?
A new survey found you're more likely to get dumped today than any other day of the year. February 10th, 4 days before Valentine's Day.
I didn't know that.
You worried?
I'm taking wifey down to the Keys, so I'm guessing she'll wait till we come back from there. I'm not today. It ain't happening today. Although I did apparently leave snowy footprints all over the kitchen last night, for which I was reprimanded.
I used to love working this night. Bartending? Are you kidding? A couple honey browns on the side. Don't worry about it, darling. You know? I've gotten dumped. Well, let's just put it this way. I've landed a couple birthdays pretty badly, where it was $1,000 at Tiffany's, and 4 days later, hey, I got to figure some things out. Like, you couldn't have figured it out before $1,000 was dropped at the mall.
Whoa! And
then it's like, okay, 4 a.m. flight to Eugene. This will be fun. Actually, it's the same person. So, the more I think about it. So it wasn't Valentine's. Valentine's was awesome. Russillo, you want to work? It's Tuesday. Done. How about you, Mikey?
Gonna be a cheap Valentine's this year.
Oh
man.
All right.
Maybe you could dial up some webcam.
Dial up some webcam.
I don't know. What are you doing? We got time. What is it? Saturday?
Yeah.
4 days.
How did the thing last week go?
I don't know. I'm so confused.
Talk about it on the air.
On the air? You really want to hear? I don't know.
Bare your soul.
You know, when you're dating, you guys remember, like, and everything's fine. Oh, you just see the girl and everything like that. Maybe even give a kiss goodbye. Everything's fine. Then by the time you pull into your driveway, you could just even have like that sixth sense, like something changed, something's different.
You're in your own head right now. You're like Van Pelt with a point guard list.
Yeah.
Yeah, just be confident, man.
Yeah, don't start doing stuff like that.
How many other guys have posted?
Yeah, but I'm always right.
No, but you know what? You just gotta. What do we always talk about on the show? Confidence. You just gotta know. You You got to know that
I'm
everything's
confident that I'm right.
What did you guys do? Did you guys have a good time? Bring
We
some
had a
bags
good
of
time and
food?
everything like that. Even the next day, things were fine.
Now they're not?
And now it's just MIA.
Oh, man.
Bro, you see that 11,000 followers you're up to?
SVP and Russillo.
Geico presents Strange Savings Stories. Astronomers detected an interstellar transmission. It stated, Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. The implications were staggering. Was the cosmos telling us we could all save hundreds on car insurance with Geico? Or did their radar merely pick up a signal from the nearby Rufus and Clyde's morning show? We may never know.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
SVP and Russillo.
Apparently there's some questions coming up later that involve Outsider Mike. We'll wait to find out the specifics on those.
We also have some new lyrics from Ryen with the hottest jam going right now.
You want to give people a taste?
No, I don't. Because they're going to get a little taste. We'll give them a little taste in about 15 minutes.
Okay. Make them wait. Make them wait. Yeah, because Ryen.
There's two things I love the most in life. Another thing, I'm sitting down with Russillo.
So, Ryen was in a great mood today. He looked great. All dapper, was in a suit. I don't know what was going on. I've stalled long enough. I knew today at 2 o'clock Eastern I was going to have to unveil my top 5 point guard list along with Ryan's. I'm trying to remember which one is the last one I went with. I don't even remember.
So you don't even know which. You have a list of lists. And you don't
Yeah,
know
no, here's the right one. Here's the right one.
Okay.
I think I have the original over here.
Whatever. No one wants to hear you
What's
talk.
What's the first one that we had today, Stanford Steve?
Relax. Relax.
He worked on this. Let him do it.
Are we going to go 5-1?
Yeah, I think that way, because it gets repetitive. We go back and forth, back and forth. We end up talking about the same guy staggered out.
You
So
first or me?
I don't care.
Let's get this out of the way. It's like going to the doctor. Just take your shot. This guy has no business being on this list because of his stats. He didn't even average the most assists on his team. But if you're putting together a list and you don't want to put Tony Parker on your list, I'm not interested in your list. Parker's 5th on my list. John Wall is 4th on my list. He has assisted or scored on 40% of the Wizards' points this year. 40%. He's an all-star, and he is 4th on my list. Chris Paul is 3rd on my list, mostly just because it's just high enough that I don't have to get side-eye from Russillo, and it's not 1 or 2 because he's not 1 or 2 right now. I debated between Westbrook and Curry, 1, 2. What's the order? Curry is 2 for me right now. Excuse me, Westbrook is 2 for me right now. Curry is 1. So going in top to bottom, it goes Curry, Westbrook, Paul, Wall, Parker. There's obviously a ton of candidates that are under consideration that you could make a case for instead of a guy like Parker whose stats aren't any good. But I know who he is and I know what he is. That's my 5.
All right, 2 things. You're not going to be interested in my list, apparently.
No, I like your list.
Well, I don't have Parker on it. He's missed 14 games. He's been an average player this year.
Yep.
He just has been. I mean, we're going resume. You put Derrick Rose on this thing.
Rose didn't make my list either.
No, Rose is not even close. I didn't even think about it. I didn't even think about putting Derrick Rose on this thing. All right, I'll go with John Wall 5th. He and Lillard, for me, it's tough. It changes all the time.
Agreed.
But I think Lillard, the fourth quarter scoring, and knowing that I kind of just trust that he has a little bit of that edge in him, that he's a guy that you just – I know this is not necessarily something you quantify here, but I'm just so comfortable with him late in the game. And I think he can do a little bit more than even Wall can, so I'll go Lillard, even though Lillard defensively is somebody I can't put up that much higher.
So that's 5 Wall, 4 Lillard?
Yep. Number 3, Russell Westbrook. He's MVP caliber this season. And the difference between he and Chris Paul is that Paul, his approach is completely different in understanding everything that's going on, and Westbrook doesn't need to understand everything that's going on because physically he's going to still get his. If you want to put Westbrook 2 like you did over Paul 3, I don't really have any argument with that, but I also think we're going to see Paul be far more assertive with Blake out. You saw that in Dallas last night. Paul does less. I mean, he does less with his approach to the game, so he's not going to have just the sheer numbers scoring-wise that Westbrook does. And number 1, I'm with you. It's Steph Curry. The traditional point guard thing is done. It's over. John Stockton doesn't exist anymore. This position is a scoring position, and whenever my friends, they start debating about this point guard, that point guard, and someone says he's not a true point guard, there are no true point guards anymore. It was tough to leave Conley off, and I still feel like Kyrie does not get nearly enough love. If you look at Conley and Kyrie's assist numbers, I mean, Conley's 31st in assists this season. Excuse me, 21st.
But if you look at his three-point shooting, he shoots better than Steph Curry.
Right. It's 41% or so. It's a shave of better, but I don't think anybody's calling him a better shooter than Curry.
No, but I'm just saying he's a tick better. What's Curry's rep? What's he great at? He's a great shooter, but Conley's percentage is just a tick higher than Curry's from three, which is surprising if you're not thinking about that being his calling card.
Right, but when I hear about Conley, and Conley is great, but I hear Conley's this point guard, true point guard. He's getting the same amount of assists per game as Kyrie is. Now, their approach is still different, so, I'd be blind if I said that they play the exact same game, but I still think offensively, Kyrie may be better than – I think he can get his more than Conley can. He gets his more than Wall does, and he and Lillard are kind of in that same group. So I love this class right now. It's tough to come up with 5.
It's SVP and Russillo. My first pass at this had the same 5 as you.
In order?
No, not in order, but the same 5 involved, and I ended up dropping Lillard.
Well, I know you were going to drop Lillard. You were talking yourself out of him with some more research about 10 minutes before the show. I could smell it on you.
Just for those that are just joining us, during the first hour, I've been lamenting having to do a list because I'm terrible at it. Stanford Steve got in my head pre-show when he saw my list, and I allowed him, who loves Parker, to influence me because I look and I realize he's not on, and he's not playing great. I know he's not even close. His numbers don't warrant consideration. But I know who he is and I know what he is when push comes to shove in the playoffs. Lillard, I talked myself out of because I love him as a shooter.
I can't believe we both like him, but
I love Lillard. And you know what I did? I looked at his January numbers and I saw too many 0 for 10 nights from 3. I'm terrible at this. It's what I do.
And Jeff Teague, I mean, this is the part of the game where you have to start mentioning other guys, but Teague has been, from an efficiency standpoint, a top 4 point guard all year. And this
really
is where Toronto people want to invade, but they're not. They're freaking out that they're not hitting Kyle Lowry. And then this is where it gets down to no mention of Brandon Knight. Okay, we said it. Brandon Knight.
I didn't say it.
Right.
I'll give you Teague, Kyrie. I'll give you Lowry. I'll give you Conley for sure. I'll give you Rose in the past tense. These are all names that you're thinking about. For me, the Lillard one was he's not the pass first point guard that Wall is. Obviously, Wall leads the league in assists. He's a better bulk shooter than Wall because he's a pure shooter, and Wall clearly isn't. But when he hits rough patches, he's going to get 22, 23 shots, and he's had some 5 for 22 nights of late, which is stupid. No one cares.
I don't know. I feel like the entire package of what we've seen from Lillard, I'm not that freaked out by it.
Stanford Steve.
Is it safe to say Kyrie's the third best offensive game point guard in the league?
Behind who? Westbrook and Curry?
Westbrook and Curry.
Uh-huh. Well, we had 55 in that game.
I think he's got to be in your top 5.
You'd put Kyrie 5th. So who would you
drop?
You have Parker in your 5
No,
and you're getting
I don't.
Kyrie in there?
No, I don't have Parker.
Wait a minute. You got Van Pelt to put Parker on his?
I just wanted him to realize he didn't have him on his list. He wasn't written down. And I know he would be mad at himself if he didn't have Tony Parker. So we did get something accomplished.
I am Captain Spur.
Exactly.
So, I even wore black today for Pop and for Tony Parker.
I know. I should have worn my Spur jacket. That's the thing about not playing a celebrity game. There's so much gear that I'm not going to get.
I'm so mad that I don't even have a jacket. You got a Letterman jacket that's got all kinds of epaulets or whatever that stuff's called. Spirit, Flair. What's that stuff called from Office Space? It's got a lot of cool stuff on it.
A lot of flair.
A lot of flair on that jacket. It's an unbelievable group right now. Unbelievable. Who is the toughest for you to leave off? Conley?
Yeah, probably Conley or Kyrie.
Kyrie plays no defense.
Lillard's not a lockdown guy himself.
So what?
Yeah. Curry's real good defensively?
He's actually been better. Curry's been better.
Well, he can only get better.
Cerruti stopped by to start asking. He had Lillard, too. He wanted to leave Chris Paul off the top 5 altogether.
Yeah,
Mike's getting to that kid, man.
We had a conversation in the break room. He was like, yeah, Paul. And he mumbled a bunch of stuff about it.
Here's what I would say with Chris Paul and Lillard. When Chris Paul's allowed to still defend you and the other team says, we don't want you to defend the other point guard, that's my tiebreaker.
I just put Parker on there because I'm terrible at lists.
Cerruti's going for that conquistador look. Anyway, who wants to listen to that guy talk hoops about anything?
Yeah, he just says on guard at first glance. Has his Musketeers cape on.
SVP and Russillo.
I'm not on Instagram. Are you on Instagram?
Thinking about it. Got a lot of stuff I'd like to share with people.
What's different from that in Twitter? I don't get it. What is it?
Well, it's just more photo-based.
Oh. So more
you
pictures
can still
of
hashtag and
more
stuff,
pictures of creme brulee.
You're going to dump all over it for a couple of years and join it? Be addicted to it?
Accurate. So Robert Griffin III. I take a lot of crap on this guy on this show. I really do. And I just take it because I deserve it. Robert Griffin III apparently on Instagram yesterday had a video of him dancing to Billie Jean. Right?
Cool.
Who doesn't? And then it turned into chaos. There's a wise man who does some high-level stuff here for SportsCenter that said the internet is not the place to go for positive feedback. God knows that's the case. Case in point to our point guard lists. In capitals, do you guys even watch basketball? He's very mad that Kyrie's not on our list. Probably more than you. I would guess that we watch more than you. You make your list.
With the hammer?
Yeah, and share it with everybody on your show today. When it comes to negative feedback and criticizing Robert Griffin III for getting into a tiff with someone, I have to recuse myself from that discussion.
Impossible.
No, I have to say I can't be the guy to give him a hard time because who am I?
You mean as far as the Twitter stuff?
Yeah, I'm as guilty as anyone. So it's silly. It's silly to point out that he got involved in that. You can't do that. You shouldn't do that. Everyone says you shouldn't, et cetera, et cetera. We all understand that. That's what you're not supposed to do. I would say that when you have that as many people as following you as Griffin does, or the two of us, there's times that you're just not having it.
Right.
And it's really easy for you guys out there that have whatever it is, your 40 people following you. You know what you don't get? A torrent of people telling you you're an idiot. And if you did, my guess is you'd probably punch back. So Griffin yesterday responds to this guy.
All right, the guy, by the way, his comment after the Billie Jean video says, quote, this is pretty funny, I'm sorry. This is why you'll be cut after next year in Washington. Why you weren't even mentioned as the future. You're a quarterback, act like one.
That's mean-spirited, but
this is why you'll be cut.
Probably not, but I'll say when people turn it into you're supposed to be training right now at this second instead of tweeting out a Billie Jean video, that's like the president. Barack Obama can be president all day trying to fix stuff, and you just can't fix everything. So if the dude goes and plays golf, he goes and plays golf. If Robert Griffin III is on his way back from the gym and he's dancing around to Michael Jackson, go for broke, Robert. The issue with this guy in the larger picture is that he's so fragile mentally and spent all of last year doing this movement stuff and all the things I couldn't stand, retweeting compliments, which is the absolute weakest move you can make. Hey, your guy shows the best. Retweet. You'd be nauseating if we did that. And we could do it all day, but we appreciate it. We're just not going to, hey.
Because we're awesome.
Exactly. And we know it. Griffin doesn't know it. The Redskins sent out a letter to their premium club members touting the future and talking about their great players, and he wasn't on that.
That's weird.
Gruden can't stand him. Gruden can't stand him.
Is Gruden on it?
Yeah.
He is?
Yep. And for a guy who's fragile mentally that went through the season that he went through last year, now the Redskins are sending out letters to their premium ticket holders that don't include anything mentioning him. But how can they mention him when they don't know? They just don't even know if he's the guy. That's the bigger issue, is that it's someone who needs a constant flow of positive feedback, not getting it from his team. That's far worse for him than this guy on Twitter saying or on Instagram saying that's why you're going to get cut.
Right. The guy on Instagram continued, quote, cares more about his brand, social media, than working on his craft, which I actually think is a fair critique of RG3. He responded by saying, and this is RG3 going, quote, if giving back to the community and training for football at the same time is frowned upon, then why would you say I do? Then what would you say I do, sir? Not give back or train? Honest question. And then a little bit later, oh wait, and should I not enjoy a classic song with others who love Michael Jackson? I'm just asking for your wisdom here. The easiest thing in the world is for all of us to tell everybody else how they should act. I mean, to be honest, if you really break down what we do, it's kind of what we do for a living. And I always think it's funny when someone tells, well, you can't do that. You can't do that. You know, it's okay to do it to a point, but because of him and because of his declining value in the league and because of the things that did seem important to him early on, he is in a no-win situation. Unfortunately for RG3, he gets lumped into you can't have fun, you can't interact until you show us that you can be good at football on Sundays again. Until he actually shows that he's good, he's competitive, he's buying and can stay healthy publicly, and this is, I mean, it's crap. It sucks that this has happened to him. But he's now not allowed to be this guy anymore. He can't be the interactive guy. He could do it when he's selling subs and he was putting up huge rookie numbers, but you can't do it now when he's hurt. That's just the way the world works.
Until the redemptive arc of the story takes him to a place where he comes back and does something great, then you can dance around to Billie Jean all you want. You're right about
and
this.
And he's fun. Oh, he gets it.
In the history of great calls on this show, you predicted that the Philadelphia 76ers would win a game. They hadn't won one. They were, 0-18, and then you said they were going to win tonight.
Yep.
That was a good call, but I don't remember the exact moment that you said this, but the clip. How did you put it about Griffin and that when you were looking into the crystal ball in the future?
I asked the question. We were doing, I don't know what, it was just one of those, hey, let's make up a segment days, and we did something.
Like Cowherd today for 3 hours?
I loved him today. He comes in.
The best.
What are you doing today? I got nothing.
What are the topics?
But I think it was, could you ever imagine asking this question where we would say in a few years, remember when we all thought RG3 was really good?
Yep. The fact that you were even batting that around was advanced, high-level thinking because it didn't seem plausible. And now here it is, and you're right that because the climate is such with him, the way last season went, and then to get involved in a back and forth. And what was interesting is that unlike so many of the quote-unquote, I don't think everyone that wants to argue with you is a troll. There are those that do it just clearly for attention, but this was a guy that had it. And many of the things that he pointed out are hard to argue. That's the beef people have with him. And the fact that Griffin is stopped tweeting out hashtag the movement and stopped tweeting out how much everyone loves me and now is bannering back and forth, I just think it shows a guy who clearly is on shaky ground and is so needing of positive affirmation and now is not finding it anywhere that he lashes out. And, again, I'm not the one to give anybody counsel on that because I engage far more than I ought to. And my thing is always that I'm the mirror. I just reflect whatever it is you are, and I just don't feel like you sign up to take junk from people. But when you're a quarterback and you're as visible as him, you have millions of people with your eyes on you. There's nothing to be gained from the back and forth because it just continues to go on, and you're never going to win. That guy's never going to say, "Hey, you're awesome," and I want to cheer for you.
No, and for a guy like Gronk, who's the best maybe at his position, who they now winning all the time, they win a Super Bowl, and then we ask, okay, well, why don't we accept Gronk? If the Pats go 8-8 and he slugs somebody one night and it ends up being an issue and he's on .com, then it would turn into fun, lovable party parade guy into needs to start focusing and growing up a little bit more. That's just the way we work. Good, at your position, successful, team successful. We are willing to accept you a lot more.
SVP&RUSSILLO, ESPN Radio.
Okay, speaking of, we have given you hits from Kenneth Garay for many years on the show, and there's been a void. Honestly.
Yeah.
Been a void for a while. So one of the new hottest songs, it's been out for a little while, but you know how much we love it here on the show. Garay sat down and just broke it down for us a little bit. He's in love, y'all.
I'm in love with the cocoa. I'm in love with the cocoa. And I got it for the low, low. I'm in love with the cocoa.
Okay. So that's part one.
Yeah. Hit my plug, that's my cholo. Hey, amigo. Cause he got it for the low, low. If he's snitching, I go loco. Go crazy. Hit you with the 38.
Here's a little translating for you. And the best part, the crescendo.
I got baking soda. I got baking soda. Baking soda. I got baking soda. Baking soda. I got baking soda. You gonna pay for that, Russillo? I'm in love with the cocoa.
I just hope Poppy hasn't done this yet because then we'll be accused of stealing it from Poppy.
I didn't even think about that.
Poppy, if you did it, well, I'm sure it was good. But we stole the Duke from some other people. We're just thieves.
I have a video of one of the verses that I'm going to tweet out a little bit later.
Please
at
do.
Ryen A. Russillo. It's just a studio session with Garay, and he enjoyed it.
Everyone enjoyed it.
SVP and Russillo.
You know, Outsider Mike, how long have you been with us, by the way, now?
See, I think I started with you guys in the fall of last year. Probably.
All right, doesn't really matter. All right, that's fine. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna get some music started up. We have some questions where Outsider Mike becomes the insider because the whole thing behind the nickname was that you felt like no one talked to you because we didn't. We were kind of jerks. So
I'm sorry.
Right, so we gave you that name, but you've known us now long enough, so we're going to put you on the spot here. You, knowing us this well, both Van Pelt, myself, and Stanford Steve, a string of questions voiced by our own Bob Bacozzi. Are you ready?
As ready as I'll ever be.
Give me an uncomfort level from 1 to 10.
Every time we try anything planned with me, it goes bad. So I'm like at a 3, 2 or 3.
Usually you'd say the other way around. Oh, all right. Okay, all right. So you're going to 3 on the
very uncomfortable.
Thank you for completely changing the rating system last minute. Okay, first one.
Already going bad.
Right. All right, first one. Here you go.
Who would you rather have as a roommate?
What are my options?
Me.
So it's you two? Between you two.
Stanford Steve or Scott. The 3 of us. The 3 guys. Insider Mike.
I think Ryen would help me get more chicks. But
Wow.
I'm just throwing it right
Van
out
Pelt
there.
would probably be easier to live with. I'd go with Scott.
Put my business in the street. But
I'm afraid you might, if I brought home a girl, you might end up,
Wow.
pulling her on me, doing the steal. I don't know.
Jeez.
Hey, want to come downstairs and let me show you the basement?
Have you seen the rest of the house?
You know, my name's on the show.
Right. Yeah, my name. The outsider wants a little name recognition. Okay. That one went, I think, well. Stanford Steve, you were the last choice there, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, next one.
Most likely to buy Twitter followers?
Boy, I don't think any of us would do that. Can I include myself on it?
No, because you would have been the answer.
Yeah. Gosh, that's a tough one. I guess Stanford Steve.
Just to catch up?
Just to catch up.
Okay. All right, next one.
If you could have anyone's life of the 3, who do you want?
That would be Van Pelt again, just because everybody knows him. But you're getting there, Ryen.
It's not that great, you know what I mean? Like,
That's
you
what, I have to include the wife and kids, too.
Yeah, but there'd be somebody to come home to. No more hungry man.
We said about my wife and my kids. That's a negative?
Get a dog.
They're delightful.
Big house, car payment, car notes probably taken care of.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking about the paycheck.
There you go. Van Pelt's the winner there. All right, Insider Mike, answered questions. 3 more.
Who's most likely to propose at a sporting event?
If the 3 of us were single.
If the 3... I would probably go with Van Pelt on that one. I could see him just going down there in Maryland.
On the Jumbotron?
Yeah, talking to the AD.
No way. No way.
I hate public spectacles more than anyone. I freak out when people sing happy birthday in a public place. So that I would be in a million years, I would never do that.
Your Twitter photo, though, isn't you, like, standing in front of, like, all...
I can't help that when I walk in,
whoa,
people's hands go up. I just am trying to just show love to the people that show me love. But that's different than saying it. Throw me up on the Jumbotron and get down on the knee going, hey, baby. Never. No, I'm not the one.
Well, it would have been me if I was able to choose myself, but I can't on these.
He's really crushing this interview.
Yeah, right. Oh, my. Okay, 2 more. Get it over with.
If you had to hire someone for murder, who would it be? Not that we're condoning it.
I'll go Stanford Steve on that one.
No question.
Hopefully he'll get caught, too.
Wow.
What is wrong? There's some weird stuff going on that we don't.
There is.
There's behind the glass stuff that we don't even know about over here.
You know what I think it is? I think when Stanford Steve took over the show, he thought he was going to be, the big man on campus, and now he hates me because I'm funny, and it's like in show. It's like in Showgirls when they drop the marbles, and he's hoping I trip over them, and.
It's exactly like Showgirls.
This is so, take your clothes off and dance for everyone. My God.
Okay, last one. This is my favorite one.
This is so good.
Who is the most disliked?
I have to go Stanford Steve. Always crushing me for something.
See that, but that's personal. I mean, of the 3 of us, just in general, you think he's the most disliked?
Oh, you're talking about, or not from me, from just in general, the most disliked.
Yeah.
Yeah, answer the question.
Maybe it is Steve.
36.
He hasn't gotten one answer right in this quiz.
I think it might be you, Ryan.
I think we
Because
Ding,
there's
ding,
a lot
ding,
of-
ding,
A lot of
ding.
haters out there.
I enjoyed that a lot.
Wasn't as bad as I thought, I guess.
I got baking soda. I got baking soda.
All right. So, there you go.
SVP and Russillo.
I got something to say, and this terrain is a little bit will be fluid moving forward. It's just a different way of closing the show by way of looking back at the show. So a chance to revisit a moment, a question you would have asked differently, a response that we got that we didn't like. Is that a good way of describing it?
Good.
I would just share that after we got done with Matheny, Mike Matheny of the Cardinals, I had an occasion to have a conversation about his book, and he talked about the youth league sports and whatever. And this wasn't on air. I wish it was, but now it will be. If you're driving around right now and you're some youth league coach and you've got 7-year-old kids and you coach lacrosse or you coach baseball and it's the springtime and you've got a good player, don't tell that kid's parents that little Timmy needs to make a choice between baseball or lacrosse. That's a 7-year-old kid. The only choice that kid should be making is what theme should my birthday party be and what do I want to put on my waffles. It's preposterous the way youth league sports are shoved down kids' throats now. And I don't even have a kid that's in it. I just hear these horror stories. And, here's a guy who made it in the major league, is now a major league manager, just aghast at what we do. Stop that. Stop making 7-year-old kids choose a sport. It's insane.
A little earlier on the show today, we did some outsider/insider Mike questions, see how well he knew the three of us, Stanford Steve. It was a slow start. But then we started realizing that this isn't about outsiders' knowledge of what we're doing here on the show. It's about the tension between he and Stanford Steve behind the glass. This is a behind-the-glass thing. We didn't really realize it. And this outsider-Mike comparison really, I think, shocks some people today.
You know what I think it is? I think when Stanford Steve took over the show, he thought he was going to be, the big man on campus, and now he hates me because I'm funny, and it's like in show. It's like in Showgirls when they drop the marbles and he's hoping I trip over them, and
it's exactly like Showgirls.
This is so Wow.
There you go. Remember Showgirls? That was NC-17, bro.
Why was it that rating?
Some heavy dialogue. Some, let's just say, adult situations.
That pool scene. Yeah.
Do you have it on DVD, Outsider?
I own it. Yeah.
You got it on VHS. VHS. What do you do with those? What do you do with your collection?
I chucked them.
I got a nice shelf where they look cool, I guess.
Hey.
VHS, I put them in a box and said, here you go.
It's like all your Casingles, your Chub Rock Casingles. What are you going to do with those?
I got a 400 DVD carousel thing in the spare bedroom. Used it 0 times since I moved in.
There's nothing to play on that. Yeah, but there's angst there. There's real angst.
Yeah, I kind of like Outsider's pushback, but I get where Stanford Steve is trying to make sure he stays on track. I get both sides of this.
You're Switzerland, bro.
I got baking soda. I got baking soda.
More.
I'm in love with the cocoa. I'm in love with the cocoa.
Give me that other one.
And I got it for the low. I'm in love with the cocoa. Hit my plug, that's my cholo. Hey, amigo. Because he got it for the low. If he's snitching, I go loco. Go crazy. Hit you with the 38.
Was he doing like Rico Suave where he was giving you both English and Spanish?
Yeah, he was translating. I tried to post a video from the outtakes on Twitter, and it doesn't want to load up. I've been trying that for 2 hours, so now my battery's drained.
Good. With Kenneth Garai dropping knowledge. Am I allowed to ask a question? Because I have one. Just on a scale of 1 to 10, how sure are you, with 10 being the most certain, that before my rankings are over, I will have someone included on a list that's worse than Tony Parker? So how sure are you that I'll have someone on a list that was dumber than including Tony Parker?
The rest of the way that we do this for the rest of the positions?
Yeah.
Of certain. Well, 10.
Okay.
10.
Like I'll have Kyle Korver.
And I don't think it's because you don't know. You clearly know. You watch as much of this as anybody. You really do. I know you're watching these NBA games whenever you're we're texting. You're watching these games too. You know, I'm always labeled as the NBA guy. You watch it, but you just get in your own head so much. You're like Drago looking into the mirror, and you don't realize that you're Drago.
Wow. So Stanford Steve, leave me alone. What are we doing tomorrow? What positions tomorrow?
Shooting guard.
Shooting guard?
That's the worst one.
Don't say that.
2 guards, you left Mano off.
Gravis.
You were messed up for a week.
He's not on it this year.
No, but remember that?
Yep.
I'm not calling you out for it. I'm just saying, like, I'm scared. I'm worried about you.
Yeah, let's just keep a running tally of the worst inclusions. So far, it's the guy that averages 14 points and 4 assists.
And missed a third of the season.
Other than that, you know, it's not my strong suit. See you tomorrow.
SVP and Russillo.